Well, hello everyone. I know some of you probably heard a sound checking earlier, but I want to welcome everyone to the third happy hour program, and just give a special kind of commendation to the Kentucky branch, with who luckily was the branch with the most registrants and attendees for today's happy hour event. So congratulations to Kentucky. If you have any questions during the course of the presentation, please put them in the chat where I can see them, or in the Q&A section if they are for Ron to answer himself. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kate Nitzkin, Kentucky Branch President and Happy Hour Committee Member, to introduce Ron. Kate, take it away.
Hi, my name is Kate Nitzkin. I'm a National Board Certified English and Theater teacher and the President of the Kentucky Branch of the English Speaking Union. I have the privilege of serving in a branch where ESU scholarship and sipping bourbon are the first two areas of priority. I've served on the Kentucky Board of Directors since my ESU teacher scholarship to London, teaching Shakespeare through performance at the new Shakespeare Globe Theater in 2009. But my members, like the amazing Ron Whitehead, are an inspiration for me to continue on with ESU. This is the English Speaking Union's third Happy Hour program, and these programs will provide engaging speakers on topics that will appeal to all ESU members. Since I'm an ESU member too, I really enjoy these programs and I hope you'll keep coming back. Each program is going to be recorded, so if you weren't able to join a live program, you can still watch at a future date. You're welcome to ask any questions that you might have of our guest by using the chat button that's on your screen. We may have some time at the end to ask him some questions. Today's program is sponsored by the Kentucky Branch, and we are being hosted live by Heaven Hill Distilleries at the Evan Williams Experience in Louisville, Kentucky. The Larceny Bourbon brand developed the Kentucky Outlaw Poet cocktail, which is today's featured drink, especially for Ron Whitehead. And our cocktail is being made for us by Dabney Clore, and Ron and I can hardly wait to take a sip. So if you will please lift your cocktail to Ron Whitehead and salute our Outlaw Poet.
Oh, thank you.
Ron grew up on a backwoods Kentucky farm. He's a poet, writer, editor, publisher, teacher, scholar, and activist. And he's the author of 24 books and 34 albums. He's produced thousands of arts events and 24, 48, 72, and 90-hour nonstop music and poetry insomniac-a-thons in Europe and the USA. He's presented thousands of readings, talks, and performances around the world. He's edited and published hundreds of titles. He's the recipient of many awards, and his work has been translated into 20 languages. In 2018, the Louisville Mayor presented Ron with a Lifetime Achievement for Work in the Arts Award. In 2019, Ron was named Kentucky's Beat Poet Laureate and also became the first U.S. citizen to be named UNESCO's Tartu City of Literature Writer in Residence. He's the co-founder and chief of poetics for Gonzo Fest in Louisville. Outlaw Poet, The Legend of Ron Whitehead, a feature-length film, will be released by Storm Generation Films and Dark Star TV in 2021. Many people judge a book by what they see on the outside, but I heartily recommend that today you don't look at Ron's cover, but look at Ron's cover in a new way. The first time I met Ron, we were at a really fancy cocktail party for past ESU scholars, and there were a number of them all gathering around, fancy dresses, bow ties. And as soon as I saw Ron across the room, I knew that he could possibly be the most interesting person there. Little did I know that our quick meeting that night would lead to a really nice friendship based on our love of literature and writing and the mutual belief that we must become the inspiration for the next generation. So I ask you today to take a new look at this unique man sitting beside me, and I guarantee that his visions today are going to lead us to experience a creative and challenging afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome the 1985 English Speaking Union Kentucky Branch and Joshua B. Everett Scholar Award, Ron Whitehead.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And thank you, Dabney, for the beautiful drinks.
We're going to be taking a look at Blistered Asphalt on Dixie Highway. The Kentucky Basketball is Poetry in Motion.
blistered asphalt on Dixie Highway. August 1966, I'm 15, we're running full court, shirts and skins, blistered asphalt on Dixie Highway, Valley Station, Louisville, South End, high top Converse, black and white, so damn hot the court is sizzling, and so are we. Pass, 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 then shoot. Don't let the ball touch the street. 2 hours running non-stop, loser sits, but we keep winning. Then cannonball off the high dive, Valley swimming pool, oh, the lovely ladies. Crank up, WAKY, wacky 790. Rock and roll AM radio, blistered asphalt on Dixie Highway, Valley Station, Louisville, South End.
What did we just watch?
Basketball. We're in Kentucky, Kate. Yeah, I grew up on a farm. Hey, 6 years ago, I got a call from my friend, New York Mets poet, Frank Messina, longtime friend. Frank had written a book of Mets poems. He ended up on the front page of the New York Times. His book sold lots of copies. And I had just gotten back from an Estonia and Finland tour, and I was on a 9-hour train ride from Rovaniemi in the capital of Lapland, where I'd led a writing workshop and was featured poet. And halfway through the ride, going down to Tampere for another international arts festival, I was looking out the window, and all of a sudden I thought, I don't know much about the first 18 years of my mom's life. Mama, now 88, is the oldest of 13. I'm the oldest of her 6. And so in 2 minutes, I fleshed out a book. And when I got back, I called Mom. I said, will you write this book with me? And so she excitedly said yes. And I was in the middle of writing that book with Mama when Frank called. And he said, Ron, why don't you write a book of basketball poems? You've told me so many stories about basketball, what it means to you in your life. And I grew up in an amazing family, and sports was a big part of our lives. Basketball and baseball in particular were the 2 main sports for farming, coal-mining people in Kentucky. And college basketball to this day is my favorite sport. And so I told Frank about my Mama book, and I thought his suggestion was crazy, but lo and behold, I started writing a book of basketball poems while I was writing the Mama book. It ended up being published and winning a big award. It was released 3 years ago at the Poet's House in New York City. And the book is about life, but the thread that holds it together is basketball. And so I come from a long line of athletes, including boxers, and we're in the home of Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, and we listened to Cassius Clay fights on the AM radio when I was a boy growing up in the country. Daddy was a bare-knuckle boxer, a farmer and a coal miner. He never lost a fight. And so I love sports, always have. I'm still an athlete to this day. I turned 70 November 23rd. But there are many other elements to my family history as there are to my life. It's an honor to be on the program today with this young lady, Kate Nitzkin, who is bringing a new fire and a new life to the Kentucky English-speaking Union. And I was so glad that my wife, Jen Bug, encouraged me to go to that event at the Speed Art Museum last year, where Kate and I met for the first time, because my feeling had been we need to inject some life into this program and into this organization and bring some new recruits in, some younger folks. And Kate felt the same way. So we'll talk more about that as we go.
But while you're on that, our scholarships are a big part of our branch. and you were a scholar and I'm a scholar. So can you tell me how your scholar, I know mine changed my life. How did your scholarship change your life?
It was one of the greatest gifts. In 1985, I graduated from high school in 1968. I thought I had received a prank call 15 years ago when the person on the other end said, Ron, we want to induct you into our high school, your high school Hall of Fame representing your 1968 graduating class. I said, who is this? And he told me, and I knew the guy, and it was legit. And so I was shocked. I felt like I was a juvenile delinquent growing up. And so I was surprised. But I went to college. I graduated when I was 17, and I went to college for 3 years, and it was just boring to me. I got tired of professors telling us students that it's all been said and done before. There's no such thing as original thought. The best you can do is paraphrase back to me what enlightenment I'm shedding on you. And I'd never believed that. I believe that we all have a nonstop river of creative fire flowing through us, but that is bred and conditioned out of us by good intentioned people. And so I stayed out a number of years, started a family, raised kids, and until I found my dream, which was twofold: to teach college in a genuine way, to help young people discover themselves and find their own dreams, whatever that means and meant for them, and to become a world-renowned poet. Those had been my dreams for a long time, but it took me a while to put them into focus. And I gained so many experiences from working different jobs, encountering people from all walks of life. Gold, Fort Knox of experience, which helps feed my writing and has fed my writing. And so Joe Slavin had come to the University of Louisville as the dean, and he became head of the humanities department. Justus Pierre, distinguished professor of humanities, one of the greatest teachers of all time, professors. And he said, Ron, I'm going to nominate you for an English-speaking union scholarship. And he did. And I've been blessed to study with Dr. Richard Kane, who was the first internationally acclaimed scholar of Irish studies. His book, Dublin in the Age of Joyce and Yeats, is still in print. Fabulous Voyager, other books. And Dr. Slavin, Dr. Kane, who had come to U of L from the University of Chicago, took me under his wing, and they wrote what I discovered were incredible recommendations. And so I went through a couple of interviews and was then told that I had received an English-speaking union scholarship to study either at the University of London or Cambridge or at Oxford for a semester. And I looked at my options and saw that I had the option of studying at Oxford, the International Graduate Program, under Dr. Valentine Cunningham, the head of English literature, and studied 20th century English literature. And so it took a half a second to make the decision that that's what I was going to do. And so they had the banquet at the historic Brown Hotel in the Crystal Ballroom in Louisville with presidents of Kentucky's universities there and other cultural leaders. And they gave a half dozen scholarships out. And I was deeply honored by the scholarship and the occasion. And then all of a sudden, they said, and we have, for the first time in our history, one more award to give out. And they started talking about this person. I wondered, well, who's that? What an incredible person. And at the end of their talk, they said, and the Joshua B. Everett Scholar Award goes to Ron Whitehead. And I looked behind myself, wondering where I was. I was so stunned. And that meant so much to me, as Joshua B. Everett was one of the original founders of the English-speaking union in Louisville, and I had received honors from the Queen and had tight connections with England. And so I went to Oxford, and they put me up at Exeter College, J.R.R. Tolkien's college. We got technical difficulties.
We do have microphone issues. It's this cord.
I've toured the world with musicians and bands for years and years, and there are always technical difficulties, and you just roll with it.
That's right.
And so I went to the door at Corpus Christi College to Valentine Cunningham's office. He comes to the door, we exchange names, shake hands. He looks down at my feet, and I knew what was coming. I said, what? He said, you got shoes on. I didn't know people from Kentucky wore shoes. I said, ha ha. Well, I won't tell you what I said after that, but I said, we'll get along great. I was raised by a person like you. My dad. Turns out his favorite singing group was the Everly Brothers, distant cousins of mine who grew up across the Green River in Muhlenberg County from Ohio County, where Bill Monroe birthed bluegrass music. That's where I grew up. Mom and her dad sat on the front porch at an old Monroe place and sang with the Monroe boys. And so Valentine played trombone in a big band. He loved big band music too. So I went to a couple of his concerts while I was there.
So you learned respect at home, right?
I learned respect at home, and studying at Oxford was a life. I've been honored and blessed in so many ways in my life through mentors I've had since childhood. People who have taken me under their wing, saw something and opened doors for me. So I became a mentor years ago. But studying at Oxford proved to me, as much as anything, debating with Valentine Cunningham, the head of English literature, about important literary topics, gave me the confidence to know what I'd known all along about myself, but I never proven it on the street. In his office there, in one-on-one sessions in a classroom setting with 12 students from around the world. That's the other thing, all with their PhDs or near their PhDs and haven't gone back to school. I hadn't completed my undergraduate degree yet when I won that award. So it was like, but I was never intimidated by any of that. I was always like, bring it on. So
I have another question.
Yes,
so you chose
please.
the theme of respect today,
Yes.
Which I know you and I both learned it way before, but
Yes.
we really saw it on these scholarship opportunities.
Yes.
But what do you want our viewers today to take away from your thoughts on respect before they watch the next clip?
Okay, thank you, Kate. Mama and Daddy taught me through their actions more than their words, but through their words too, to never look up to or down at anyone, to look at everybody eye to eye, to stand shoulder to shoulder, because we're all in this together. And when one of us is lifted up, we're all lifted up. And so I learned good manners, whether I wanted to or not. I didn't have a choice. And I still believe in good manners and treating everybody respectfully. And I respect our beautiful differences, people around the world. Growing up on a farm, I joined the first book clubs, geography and biography, when I was a boy because I wanted to know about the people and places of the world. I was curious. I wanted to go to those places. I wanted to meet those people. And over the years, poetry has taken me to so many countries. And so I have friends all over the world. And I honor, I respect, and I cherish those friendships. And it's by respecting our differences, but by recognizing simultaneously that we have more in common than we have difference, that helps me when I meet somebody for the first time, start looking for ways, what do I have in common with this person and they with me? So we can begin to explore our lives, share the stories of our lives.
Please enjoy Ron's performance of Prayer.
Prayer. Deliver me from fear. Remind me constantly that fear is forever overcome by love. Deliver me from power, for power without love and wisdom inevitably destroys anyone and everyone in its path, including the one who has power but lacks love and wisdom. Deliver me from the disdain of arrogance, elitism, privilege, and the illusion of superiority, for no one is in any way better than anyone else. Deliver me from the violence of greed. Grant me the desire to live simply and to share earth's bounty with others. Deliver me from the silence that enables any and all manifestations of abuse, war, and evil. Grant me the necessary balance of love, power, and wisdom, enabling me to be a nonviolent warrior for peace. Grant me the ability to act responsibly in all areas of my own life, to be a good neighbor, and to dwell in harmony with nature. Thank you for the bounty of life, for the beauty of nature, and for the love of family and friends. Amen.
So how did meeting the Dalai Lama change your thought process?
As another life changer, in 1993, I brought Lawrence Ferlinghetti, a longtime friend who's now 101, to Louisville. It took me a year to bring Ferlinghetti to Louisville. He finally said, "Ron, if you'll take me to Thomas Merton's grave, I
Sorry to interrupt, but Ron is very low.
Thomas Merton's one of the most prolific spiritual writers of all time. He spent the second half of his life at the Abbey of Gethsemane, an hour south of Louisville. And so he came, we went down and had the grand tour of the Abbey of Gethsemane. And on the drive back to Louisville, Ferlinghetti told me about Merton spending the last night of his life with Ferlinghetti at City Lights in San Francisco and North Beach before he went on to Asia, where he had 3 talks with the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama to this day tells about how Merton inspired him to become more ecumenical in his worldview. In other words, accepting people of all religions, all faiths, all spiritualities. And so then Ferlinghetti said, why don't you bring the Dalai Lama to Kentucky? He's never been here. He would love to visit Merton's grave. Ask him to come and give a talk. And so I spent a year talking with people, and the Dalai Lama ended up coming. And I had the opportunity to ask him one question. And in a hurry, I asked him, I said, next month, this was April 1994, this was at the Kentucky Center for the Arts, just across the street from Evan Williams here in the Mary Anderson room at a press conference after his talk to a sold-out audience, standing room only audience. I had the last question of the press conference, and I said, Your Holiness, New York University has asked me to produce a 48-hour nonstop music and poetry insomniac-a-thon to kick off their week-long 50-year celebration of the Beat Generation. And over 300 young people from around the world will be performing at my event. Will you please share with me a message I can then share with these young people of all ages who will be coming and performing? And so he smiled real big. He's bored usually by all the same questions. Do you think China will ever let you back in, et cetera? And so this was a different question, and he loved it. And so he gave me a longish answer. I didn't realize at the time it was being recorded by a friend. I found that out later, and but it was. And I had a reporter from the Courier Journal and from Leo Weekly on each side of me. During this, fortunately, his translator translated what I had said quickly and slowed it down for him. And then he gave me this message. What happened was which I didn't realize until later, I didn't hear what he was saying. All I heard through some kind of spiritual transmission, I received the poem, Never Give Up. And I learned later that some Tibetan masters, including Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, who founded Naropa University, the first accredited Buddhist university in Boulder, Colorado, received teachings that they put into books or pass on to young people. They received them through some kind of spiritual transmission. And that's what happened to me for the poem Never Give Up, which is now all over the world. It's been in National Geographic, banners at rock festivals. It's been in a couple of the Dalai Lama's books. And so after the Dalai Lama gave me the message, I thought he was leaving. And the press was slamming their cameras together and everybody was leaving. And I was staring down right in front of my feet, stunned by the message. And all of a sudden there was this burgundy yellow glow in front of me, and I looked up and there was the Dalai Lama standing right in front of me, and I held my hand up. I felt like a little boy, and I could feel his energy, this positive radiant energy. And he took my hand in both of his and he squeezed it and he bowed, blessing his message and blessing me. And so the story goes on from there, but that's how it happened, and it's changed my life dramatically. And from the letters I've received, I've printed tens of thousands of posters and given those to Buddhist communities, monks and nuns, and to young people all over the planet over the years. And I received lots of letters about that poem and that message. So it was a gift to me that I share with everybody wherever I go.
This next animated clip is from Ron's personal experience with the Dalai Lama. It's a trailer from Ron's upcoming film, Outlaw Poet, The Legend of Ron Whitehead.
And I wonder if you might have some message you could give me that I could pass on to all the young people who will be coming from all over the world.
Well, the Dalai Lama closed his eyes. He smiled real big.
I feel usually inspire some people to their feeling towards our future, humanity's future, rather considering pessimistic. But I do believe,
As the Dalai Lama spoke to me and gave me the message, all I heard were the words to my poem, Never Give Up. I didn't actually hear what he was saying. So it was some kind of a spiritual transmission.
Never give up. No matter what is going on, never give up. Develop the heart. Too much energy in your country is spent developing the mind instead of the heart. Develop the heart. Be compassionate, not just for your friends, but for everyone. Be compassionate. Work for peace. In the world and in your heart, work for peace. And I say again, never give up. No matter what is going on around you, never give up.
So tell me, Ron, what influenced your unconventional style?
That's funny. Well, thanks, Kate, for asking. Well, I mentioned earlier a little bit about my dad. My mom, I come from a long line of farmers, coal miners, and strong women, and also deeply spiritual people. And on my mom's side in particular, on both sides, but in my mom's in particular, musicians, creatives, intuitives, psychics, gypsies. And if you meet my mom, I went down and had lunch with her last week, and she still dresses up every day with a flair, let me tell you. And she's a character, and my mom has so many friends. She's such a sweet lady. If you ever came to visit Mama, as everybody did, you never left without something. She gave everybody, you couldn't leave without something. Food, flowers, there was always something nearby. And I decided a long time ago that my time for wearing a noose, which is what I came to call a necktie, there's a photo I found of Valentine Cunningham and me outside of Exeter College from 1985. We were getting ready to head up to Stratford-on-Avon to just explore the town, to go to a play that night. And there's this nice silk tie, and, and so it came upon me one day. I said, you know, this feels like a noose. And so, but the other thing, part of the liberation was I decided to look on the outside the way I am on the inside. And when I made the commitment to the creative forces of the universe, to follow my dream and be my dream, then it was amazing. So many things happened simultaneously. I've talked about some of them here today. My encounter with the Dalai Lama, my work with Hunter S. Thompson, with so many other famous and infamous people, brilliant cultural figures. It's been such an honor. But doors started opening for me that never opened before. I had to make that commitment. Okay, I'm willing to pay the price. My life is short, and I can't go on. There came a point in my life when I determined what my dream was. And so I started building a bridge from where I was. It took me 8 years. It didn't happen overnight. I worked 3 jobs. I raised 3 kids for 20 years. I slept 3 hours a night. I drank 15 to 20 cups of coffee a day. But there was light at the end of the tunnel that didn't used to be there. When I found my dream and I started building that bridge, and the closer I got to it, and going to Oxford was just such a big part of that affirmation of just keep going, never give up. And I think that's one reason I was given the gift of the Never Give Up poem, is because I had always refused, no matter when I was down and out in Kentucky, as I have been, as most Kentuckians have been, I never gave up. And so I determined to live my own life and be my own self.
And you know what? I happen to really enjoy yourself. I just want you to know that. I am going to tell you, though, that we are going to really enjoy watching Ron's music video entitled Riding with Rebel Jesus. I think you'll learn some more.
Hold up in Oaxaca, we'd reached the end of the line. The government was against us. An army waited for us outside. Jesus wasn't nervous. He never was, but neither was I. Hold up in Oaxaca, we'd reached the end of the line. Jesus was a wanderer. Wherever it was, we'd been there a time or two. Bogota, Buenos Aires, Rio de Janeiro, Machu Picchu in Peru, Tucson, Arizona, New Orleans, Louisiana, Havana, Cuba, Mexico City. Jesus was a wanderer. Wherever it was, we'd been there a time or two. Riding with Rebel Jesus, people turned their heads and stared. Who was that, they asked. Did you see his brown eyes? Did you see his red hair? Jesus, the wanderer, was a mystery to all. Jesus, the wanderer, was a mystery to me. Riding with Rebel Jesus, people turned their heads and stared. How much longer can we hold out? How much further can we go? We're holed up in Oaxaca with the army outside our door. Looks like the journey's over. Our wandering days are done. How much longer can we hold out? How much further can we run? Holed up in Oaxaca, we'd reached the end of the line. The government was against us. An army waited for us outside. Jesus wasn't nervous. He never was, but neither was I. Hold up in Oaxaca, we'd reached the end of the line. Jesus, the wanderer, was a mystery to all. Jesus, the wanderer, was a mystery to me. Riding with Rebel Jesus, people turned their heads and stared. We're holed up in Oaxaca with the army outside our door. Looks like the journey's over. Our wandering days are done. How much longer can we hold out? How much further can we run? Holed up in Oaxaca, we'd reached the end of the line. The government was against us. An army waited for us outside. Jesus wasn't nervous. He never was, but neither was I. Holed up in Oaxaca, we'd reached the end of the line.
We have some outstanding writers that are here today at our performance. And so, Ron, I want to ask you, what are your tips for the writers who are trying to figure out how to improve their writing skills and how to get the work published?
Well, Kate, I'm asked this question frequently. So I finally wrote 14 suggestions for aspiring poets and writers. And I think these are going to be posted so people can take a look at them. But I just want to say that, first of all, we are conditioned to follow the rule book. And I have always just instinctively gone my own way, as so many Kentuckians do. Look at the great Kentuckians who have impacted, influenced, and changed whatever field they've gone into. So language, I remind myself and I remind students constantly, language is an experiment. It always has been. Look at the history of the English language, for example. Study it. Read one book about it. It's fascinating. It continues to, we must be the ones who continue to change it, to evolve it, to experiment with it. And so, but that doesn't mean there's no lack of respect for what has come before. I got a history major before I got an English major. And I love history. And so when I went back to school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And so not only did I master grammar, but also scansion, the grammar of poetry. So I learned I wanted to be able to argue, to discuss with anyone, any aspect of poetry, of literature, and especially if I was going to teach it. I mean, how could I teach it if I didn't know about it? So I did. And so I encourage everybody. There's so many young people who feel like a poem comes to them and it's God-given gift and it's the greatest thing of all time. I know I'm speaking from experience here. And I'll never forget when Leon Driscoll, creative writing instructor at U of L, after I went back to school, I took Leon first semester, and after a class, he said, Ron, have you got just a minute? And he showed me my 3-page paper, and it was bloody. There was ink all over it. And I just thought it was the best thing. But that was a wake-up call to me. That was the beginning of me to dive deeper into dictions, syntax, the words I choose and the way I place those words in the sentence, to dive deeper into the study of writing itself, not just the expression of an idea, of an inspired thought. And so look at my 14 writing suggestions. I've had long talks with my friend Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who I mentioned earlier, now 101, who founded City Lights Books in 1953, America's first paperback bookstore, 261 Columbus Avenue, North Beach. It's still there. It's a mecca for independent thinkers all over the planet. Ferlinghetti got his PhD at the University of Sorbonne in Paris. And he ended up moving from New York to San Francisco to join the San Francisco Literary Renaissance. And we both talked about, we took a similar path. We learned everything we could about tradition. We have great respect. We absorbed through some kind of osmosis tradition, the old language, the old poems, and everything that came in between. The Romantic poets turned my life around when I was in high school, when I read them for the first time. Are you kidding me? William Wordsworth, Intimations of Immortality. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. But then after we learned all that, we packed everything into our car and we drove down that 2-lane road along the Pacific coast late at night. We rolled the windows down. We threw all those papers out the window so they fell down to the ocean and they scattered and they went away. And then did everything we learned, did we lose everything we learned? Of course not. It is part of us for the rest of our lives. So those rhythms come out in our poems. But if a poem comes to you, write it down. Yeah, don't edit it right away. Write it down, put it on paper. Then go back, though, later and edit it.
So this kind of leads us to this next thought. You and I wanted to create this write-on page where all of the people who are members here could actually be part of the conversation. And do you see this type of real audience writing as a really good way to reach students? That's my question. Or teachers in the classroom.
Teachers. I did a lot of experimentation because I wanted to help students grow as fast as possible as writers and as people when I started teaching college. And so I did a lot of research, and I found out that who and what do we care about more than anything? Our own selves. We should. Our own lives. Who are we? So I started teaching autobiographical writing. I taught people how to journey back in their lives to their earliest memories and write those memories down, the bad and the good. And it's how I found my voice as a writer. And so you got to make the classroom real, teachers. As much as that's possible, I stayed in trouble from administration many times when I was teaching college because I provided the opportunity for students to be themselves and to tell their own life stories. We're all dirty potatoes floating in the same tub of polluted water. And the more we boldly share, openly, honestly share the stories of our lives, the more we come clean. So you teach literature and use that as your launching pad to dive into the individual stories of people's lives.
So we had a wonderful committee that was evaluating our haiku that you submitted to the ESU. And we want to shout out a special thanks to our teachers who made up the committee, Jan McClure from Central Florida branch, Kana Hipschman from the Kentucky branch, and I helped as well. And as educators, we share Ron's belief in the power of the written word to connect, inspire us all. Ron has selected 3 of the writers here from all of the outstanding submissions to the ESU writing page. Special thanks to all of our poets who chose to write on, including the contributions from the ESU ARNIC program, made up of non-native speakers who were fearless to tackle a poetry contest. We reached a broad audience of participants as 2 of our winners are international. And now we're going to present those prizes. Our 3rd place winner will receive Ron's new CD, Down and Out in Kentucky, Never Give Up. In 3rd place, Mr. Dieudonné Nayade Bayise.
Let's quiet our thoughts and empathize with others, then our barriers will crumble and reveal the peace we all long for. No isms, nationalism, racism, sexism, ableism, but honor to the human family.
Congratulations.
The 2nd place winner will receive Down and Out in Kentucky, Never Give Up CD, and songs and poems from the Kentucky Bound concert. In 2nd place, Dr. Aprilia Zonk from Munich, Germany.
Hello, I'm Aprilia Zeng from Germany, and this is my haiku on the topic respect. Earth under your feet, sunlit leaves caress the air respect the planet. Thank you. Goodbye.
Just real quick, unfortunately, Clayton, you are muted right now. Can you unmute yourself, please?
The first place winner will receive Ron's new book, The View from Lawrence Ferlinghetti's Bathroom Window. Our first place winner is Dr. Carissa Vilisarius from Larissa, Greece.
Hello. So my poem goes like this. Great oak bows when the wind caresses its old wrinkled body. This is all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you to all the winners. I appreciate it so much. And thank you to everybody who entered the contest. I hate being a judge. Thank you.
The entries were amazing, all of you who submitted. It was quite a difficult decision, and I know that Jan and Kana share my same vantage point as well as, from Ron's. So if you'd like to see more of Ron's work, you can visit the Transmission Press store. And we have a special thanks to all of you who participated in writing. There will be some gorgeous pages for you to take a look at. Feel free to download them. Josh will be sharing them with you so that you can take a look. Josh was going to throw out some questions here for Ron.
Yes, so we have some questions. The first one comes from Jeff Fellows from the UK, who writes,
Can we hear him?
hello, politely does wisdom accumulate?
Ask
Were you
that
able to hear
question
that?
again, one more time.
So Jeff Fellows from the UK writes, hello, does wisdom accumulate?
Jeff Fellows asked, does wisdom accumulate?
Is wisdom accumulated?
Is wisdom accumulated? We're all wise fools. Unfortunately, we're fools a lot more often than we're wise, but unlike many people who believe we come into the world tabula rasa, blank slates, and we etch ourselves into being through our actions, which is a basic premise of Kierkegaardian existentialism. I think we come in, having held my 3 children, now grown, in my arms, I think we come in with experience, rich experience, and I think what's essential is tapping into the wisdom that is inherent in us. And it's important to remember that the heart is the truth tester. And no matter how much knowledge we accumulate, it's meaningless unless we channel our decisions and our actions through our heart. There's where wisdom comes from.
All right, the next question comes from Kentucky Branch member. Why do you write mostly poetry?
Why do you write mostly poetry?
I realized when I was 7 that I was a poet. I was born a poet. I've been a poet all my life, and I communicate most effectively in images, and even my prose, I prefer to write in a poetic form. But I write prose, but writing prose to me is like shooting myself in the foot. It's painful. It's not easy. I have to glue myself, tie myself to a chair, and it's natural for me.
Next question is from Clark Goodwin in Atlanta, who asks, can you tell us what is next on your horizon?
Clark Goodwin asked, what is next on your horizon?
Thank you for asking. Just real quick, Okay, I worked for 5 years with Margaret Ann Harrell on this book, which is just released by Norfolk Press in San Francisco, The Hells Angels Letters. Amazing book. She was the editor for Random House during Hunter's writing of this book. You need to go to Norfolk, Norfolk Press, and check this out, get a copy of that. Jen Bug, my life partner, and I, last year, I spent April and May in Estonia, and we wrote, I did many things. One was we wrote Nights at the Museum, which has been translated into Estonian, and by Doris Karva, Estonia's leading poet and translator, and a publisher over there is bringing out a bilingual edition in November. An English edition will come out at the end of the year. And right now, I'm working on one of the most inspiring projects I've ever worked on, From the Ancestors, Poems and Prayers for Future Generations. 35 poets, writers, singers, healers, curanderas, and shamans from 20 countries in 17 languages, including, if you're from the States, Joy Harjo, our U.S. Poet Laureate, and the first Native American Poet Laureate, has a track on that, a double album and book. That will be released, that project will be released November the 12th. And I'm so excited. Wait till you hear and read this. Okay, that's a little bit of what I have going on.
And your film coming out.
Oh, the film. Oh my gosh. The film, which is supposed to come out this year, it's been in the works for 10 years. And our film producer here, Clayton Luce, Dark Star TV, has joined forces with Storm Generation Films to bring out the Outlaw Poet, the Legend of Ron Whitehead film, which I'm a little nervous about. I don't know if I should sit on the back row at the opening or sit up front, towards the front in the middle. I won't be able to get out there if I need to run. So
Afraid they're going to throw popcorn, huh?
yeah, but I'm so excited about that film coming out.
Well, that's all the questions that we have at this time.
That's all the questions for now.
Okay, and thank you.
Special thanks.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Special thanks to all of our wonderful ESU members who make this organization so special. And we want to thank our supporters today, the ESU Kentucky branch, Heaven Hill Brands, Clayton Luce and Dark Star TV, the Evan Williams Experience, the Happy Hour Committee, Dr. Karen Blair Brand, Sarah Heron Photography, Josh Keppel Gonzalez, Kentucky branch member Ron Whitehead, Outlaw Poet. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the ESU, Ms. Karen Karpowicz.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see everybody again. And thank you so much, Kate and Ron, for an hour of poetry. I want to thank everybody. I think it was inspiring and beautiful, as most poetry is, as all poetry is. So this was a special event, and I think it was the best time to do it, given what's going on in the world. Thank you again. I just want to remind everybody about the next happy hour on September 2nd. Well, we'll be talking about Shakespeare, scandals and scoundrels. So I guess in the heart of the great poet of our times, we'll be focusing in on Shakespeare. I'd also like to remind everyone about the ESU and our centennial, which will be taking place, our gala event and conference in October, the week of the 19th, October 21st. And as you know, it's going to be virtual this year. So I encourage everybody to participate and register today for the event. In the meantime, have a lovely afternoon, and I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.